Quality is not an act, it is a habit. Hello, this is the Quality Link, brought to you by the Regional Network of Standard Setting Bodies, which make up the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality CROSQ. Every month on the Quality Link, we present one national standards body, NSB, to explore, discuss, or just give an update on how individual NSBs are supporting quality of life and business growth through standards, conformity assessment, and the metrology.
Hi, welcome to the Quality Link. I am your host, Latoya Burnham, Technical Officer of Quality Promotions with the CROSQ Secretariat. And in this month's episode, we'll be talking to the National Certification Body of Jamaica, the NCBJ, which is the certification unit of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. And we'll be looking at certification and the business advantage. So today's discussion is going to be with Mrs. Shelly-Ann Brown.
Yes.
And is it Miss or Mrs.?
Oh, my apologies, Miss Diane Allison.
Okay, Miss Diane Allison from the National Certification Body of Jamaica. So Shelly-Ann, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about the NCBJ, what it is, who you are, what you do.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having us. The National Certification Body of Jamaica. We are a part of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, providing certification in ISO 9001 and also ISO 22000 standards. We also do national and regional standard certification. The National Certification Body, we were established since 2007 and we are currently accredited by the ANSI, National Accreditation Board. We call it ANAB. We were accredited to, of course, the standard that basically looks at recognizing certification bodies conforming, conformity assessment, because in order for us to serve the community, we too have to have some form of recognition that is accepted. Our motto is certify locally, you can export globally. And the standard that we are certified to is ISO 17021-2/2015.
Okay. So Diane, tell us about certification. What exactly is that?
So as Shelly explained, my colleague explained earlier, we are accredited to offer certification to quality management system. We do also offer other type of certification. However, when it comes on to management system, it is the ISO 9001-2015 certification that we offer to clients. And what we do is that we go in the facility, we do an audit and we assess to ensure that you're meeting certain quality standard as it concerns the ISO 9001 standard itself. So we check the requirements of the standard, we check your QMS, your quality management system, and we assess the conformity of your system to the standard, and not just that, to regulatory requirements and also to your own documented system. Are you conforming to it? And once we assess conformity, then we would assert or certify that you are indeed meeting quality. So certification is just indicating that you are meeting quality objectives or certain quality as it is outlined in the standard.
Why is this important though? Why is it that companies would even want to be certified?
It is to show that to your stakeholders, to your customers, your suppliers, that you are operating at a certain standard, you're meeting international requirement, right? And whatever your service is or your product, it is consistent, the quality of it is consistently the same, and there is no shortchanging or shortcutting, right? So it is important for clients, for companies, certification is important for companies to just attest or to show that they are operating at a certain standard.
Okay. I know in our regional work in quality infrastructure, we look a lot at management systems for accreditation as well as certification. Shelly-Ann, perhaps you can give us an idea of what's the difference between the two. We accredit labs to certain quality management systems, but then there's certification of businesses to different management systems. So can you explain the difference between the two?
Yes, well, it's basically in our industry, the national quality infrastructure, it's basically where you are in terms of the supply chain and who it is that you are working with, who is your client. So for accreditation, it's basically the body that gives that recognition, because certification is really recognizing and looking at the processes that you have in place. So accreditation is given, that recognition is given. The accreditation body, their clients are basically laboratories, and us as certification body. The principle remains the same in terms an audit has to be done to verify, as Diane said, that you are operating to a particular standard. However, when it comes to certification, it's the same principle where you are audited to a particular standard. However, our clients will be industry. It will be the MSMEs within the region. So that's the main difference, if we're looking at it. And in terms of, so you're accredited if you're a part of the national quality, if you're a part of the quality infrastructure for the region. By an accreditation body. However, you are certified if you are a part of industry, whether private sector or public, by one of us, whether the certification body or an inspection body. You'll get your certificate or your inspection report. So it's really who is the end user of our system that makes the difference, right?
Okay, that's a good clarification. Thank you for that. When a company or the manager of a company walks through your door and says, I want my company to be certified, why is it that they're actually coming? What leads a company to say, okay, it's time for me to look at, this kind of quality related advancement for my organization? Shelly-Ann, perhaps you can tackle that one.
Well, for us, seeing a client come in, we know they mean business, because certification is really a business decision. It's part of your competitive advantage. Some of the reasons that the clients would come in is, first, one of the primary reasons would be for consistency and to have repeatability of their processes. Because as part of certification, the standard, as certification goes hand in hand with standards, and what standard gives is best practices, whether it's the national best practices, regional or international. So when a client comes, they're saying, I want to ensure that my business is comparable to any other business in the world, that my processes are meeting a certain standard. And then I don't want to self-declare, but I want you to put your stamp on it as the national certification body to say that they are actually operating according to these requirements. So when they come in, the first thing for consistency, repeatability, or for trade, based on what their trading partners may be requesting in terms of where do they want to train, what are the trade. Even though standards, even though certification is voluntary, it is a requirement based from your buyers as well. Right? And also for ease in terms of the number of maybe regulations, audits or inspections that are done, because some of these international requirements or even national will say, okay, we will reduce the time that we have to come or the amount of tests that we do once you have a private certificate, once you are part of a voluntary certification program. And of course, to increase business and profit and sustainability.
To access markets as well.
Perhaps you can delve into that a little bit more, Diane.
So some persons would call to indicate that they have a customer who it's a large customer and they are asking if they're certified, so they come to us seeking to be certified to a particular system or standard, while others want to access a particular market. They want to go to Europe, or they want to go within the Caribbean or wherever, and they want to know how, if we offer a certification that could assist them in meeting certain requirements that their customer is asking of them.
I know we have a number of certification bodies across the region that provide these kinds of services. Is it that in addition to being able to audit the company, you also do research? So say that I am a juice provider for a European market. Is it that when that business owner comes into my company, I then have to do the research in terms of what exactly that customer needs to be certified to, or do they already come with that information? How does that interface work to be able to provide them with the exact type of certification service that they would require?
Some clients would come to us already knowing what they want, right? And so that makes it easy. And some clients would say to us, this is what they want, this is where they want to go. What should they do? But usually clients would come to us to say that this is what they want, and this particular type of certification to begin the process in going forward.
Okay. Shelly-Ann, perhaps you can tell us what the demand is like. Are you seeing an increasing number of companies, especially now? Because I know at our regional end, since COVID, we would have seen increasingly companies are asking, what can we do to make sure that we safeguard customers, to make sure that our products are, in line, to make sure that there's safety for those who consume. Are you seeing any kind of an increased demand for certification in the region?
Yes, we are in the region. In terms of persons requesting, we have had meetings across the region for demand because of the international laws, and also companies want to grow in terms of growing their market share. They also need the certification. So we do see persons coming in requesting. As Diane said, they will know off the bat based on the market that they're trying to attract, which one of the certification, and also based on our market research, right? We drive the demand as well, help to drive the demand, knowing that based on what is happening in the context in which they're operating in the region and internationally as well, this is a type of certification that will be provided. So we see a demand especially for the food certification related to the food industry. As you know, our niche and also our specialty products are in demand across the world. So definitely, in order to get on the shelves of some of those buyers and into those international market, the organizations, they need to have certification. So it's being driven both externally and internally for certification.
What does your outreach look like in terms of, as a company that provides this kind of service, what does your outreach to stakeholders look like? Is it that you have webinars? Do you have what kinds of stakeholder engagements are you having?
Okay, go ahead.
So we do have webinars across the region. We have reached out to certain manufacturers and exporters associations in terms of letting them know what we are doing and what we do offer. Locally, we do have our online webinars, I guess, and online outreach programs where we reach out to persons. Sometimes we go out. If we have a client in the region that has been certified and they're doing like a handover ceremony and we're visiting in the region, then we'll go specifically to these associations and whatever entities and bodies that we can go to, and just let them know what it is that we are doing. We are in the region, we have been here for such a time, and this is what we're about. So we do it through various means, whether online or physically, if we're in the region, or physically right here in Jamaica.
Shelly-Ann, you had something to add?
Yes, in addition, we have different social media handles. We're on the Instagram, we're on Facebook as well, where our clients can contact us. We're on LinkedIn as well, where we participate in regional activities such as CROSQ, any CROSQ activities. We have met with some trade associations where we have done meetings just to highlight our services as well, in addition to what Diane had spoken about. So we are available. We're readily accessible throughout the region.
We would have spoken a little bit before about the increase that we're seeing in demand. Do you think that we're doing enough across the region as certification bodies? Are we doing enough to educate the business sector, to educate industry about the benefits, about why certification is important and necessary, Shelly-Ann?
Okay. Well, I must commend both CROSQ and the standards body across the region, because I've seen where we have made effort, but in all cases, in terms for us to have the sustainability and the drive that we would have wanted, definitely there's more that we can do in terms of public education, because certification, as we see in other countries, is really driven by the consumer. So public education is very important for us. We are the certification body. We really come in at the back end, but in terms of public education, standard development, and all the inputs, metrology, those are needed in order for the clients to be ready for this type of certification. So of course, in terms of the standard bodies, just ensuring that persons are ready in terms of the regulatory requirements, and of course public education coming from the government that will drive, or systems in place that will drive the demand, because certification, it has to be a business decision and persons must see the result. So if the consumer demands it, and we see we have very conscious consumers who needs to know some form of verification as to what am I eating, and so forth. So if we can increase on that level, then I'm sure, as I said, though, I commend the standard bodies and CROSQ for the work that has already been done.
Thank you so much. Diane, same question. Is there anything that you can add or think to add that we can perhaps do to further educate our populace?
I do agree with what Shelly-Ann has said in terms of the work being done by standard bodies and CROSQ itself. We just have to continue doing what we are doing in terms of reaching out, right? But one thing I do realize is that due to the drive in the market, a number of manufacturers or suppliers, they are seeing the need to get on board with certification, right? Especially when it comes on to food safety and so forth. Also, in terms of the market that they're trying to access and the demands from those markets because of rising concerns in food safety. So there is the recognition from the manufacturer side, from companies, that there is a need for certification. And also I do believe that a lot is being done, and we just need to continue to reach out whatever niche market that is there, and also the bigger entities, just to continue reaching out to them and let them know we are here. This is what we are about, and this is the importance of certification.
Latoya, if I may add, I think probably our clients and the wider industry may say we didn't mention it, but of course, as Diane mentioned, the need is seen. However, what we receive from that end is in terms of resources, support, in terms of financial capacity building that they can. So the support is needed in terms of the industry, in terms of assistance, financial or technical support, in order for them to build the capacity to implement these standards and get certification.
We're receiving a lot more calls from companies wanting to be certified, but it's a matter of assisting with the implementation of the standard or the system itself. But as you know, we come in at the back end, so we do not assist with implementation, but there's a lot of need out there for it.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. I'm glad that you both, in talking about what more needs to be done, would have brought up the benefits of certification to the companies. And perhaps you can tell us if you've seen in your extensive years in this industry, if you've seen a discernible link between certification and the competitive advantages for businesses. Shelly-Ann, I'll tackle you first.
Well, yes, I've seen it. I can think of some of our long-standing companies. They're expanding, and every time that they would apply, well, it's an upcoming audit, their scope expansion. We'll have testimonies of increasing revenue and profit as well coming from, and in terms of consistency of both just the business process and the management of the business. We have received testimony. Currently, we have a project in terms of the government entities as well, and so we want to extend that to the region. We're not just looking at the private sector, but also the public entities, so that service the support that is needed by the business sector is also given, because certification would have provided that leverage for the public sector to, provide the service that is needed. So we have seen both from our public and private clients that they have benefited, and we have had testimonials coming in from our clients.
Okay.
Yes, we have had a number of testimonials, but I also want to add that from the public itself, I have heard, or we have received from the public, how the operations at certain entities have severely improved.
Okay.
And I can see it is because of certification. And as Shelly has indicated, some clients, whenever they come, they expand their scope, right, to include more sites or more processes. And it is because they have seen the benefit of certification, and that it has given them an edge in the market. So from my own personal experience outside of work, just dealing with certain entity and speaking with certain persons, you'd hear them say, you know what, this is a place to go. I remember when they used to operate like this, but I feel like things going on there now. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Both of you would have mentioned about scope expansion. Perhaps you can explain what that means for a layman who is listening and says, what does it mean that a company is now coming for scope expansion? What is that?
Okay, so, in terms of scope expansion, so with certification, you don't have to certify your entire business processes all at once, because we do encourage you to just to meet the minimum requirements of the SAN. So for example, to just basically explain, if you are a service provider and you provide customer service, customer care, pharmaceutical or storage and distribution, you have a warehousing business, you don't have to certify all three categories of your services. You could start with your customer care centers, and then you add so that would be the audit scope, or what we look at for the certification, and your certificate will only be for the customer care center. But as you have the experience and the knowledge of implementing, you will now want to extend this your system to include, and you could do them one service at a time. So it could be the following year you said, okay, I'm going to add my warehousing and distribution, and then the following year of your certification you said, okay, I'm going to include the pharmaceutical divisions. So scope, so you can start with one, being specific, being targeted based on your resources, based on access that you have to technical support. You start with a specific area in your business, and then you expand. It can be the same for food. If you have multiple products, you could start with one product and then increase as you go along.
Okay.
So as your income is increased, because must know that certification is at a cost. So you have to take it into consideration, and you look at that. As I like to go back, it is a business decision. So you can see where your profit has increased, so that you can spend that on getting the other scopes certified, your other services.
Also want to add that you can also, if it's a multi-site organization, you can also choose to add another location, right? So you might be operating at each site, you might be doing the same things or different things, right? So you can choose to add a location as well to it, or you can choose to add a processing to it, whether it's at the same location or another location.
I'm going to come back to cost just shortly, but before we go to cost, I'm going to tackle something Diane said earlier in terms of the public recognizing that after certification, the customer service that they receive is better, and also in relation to public service. And I think it's critical because we are always asked at the regional level, how come you're only dealing with private individuals or private businesses when there's also a scope or also need for improvement at the public sector level. So perhaps, Diane, you can talk to me a little bit about why certification is also something that's necessary at the public sector level.
So oftentimes it is said that public sector workers, or sometimes in the public sector, they kind of drag their feet in terms of the speed of service and so forth, or the level of documentation, right, that you have to go through. So it's a matter of showing or putting a system in place to ensure that you operate at a certain level, you meet specific turnaround time, your customer care or your service to your customer is improved, so that they know that we're just not there sitting down or dragging our feet, but we are giving the best service possible. And as public sector, we are there to serve the public, right? Are there some critical things that you can't get done anywhere else? You have to go to the public sector to get it done, right?
True.
So take, for example, I am leaving my workplace to go to the tax office or the passport agency to renew my passport or my license. I don't want to stay there all day long, right? I don't want to having put in my documentation to come back to realize that there's an error on it or whatever. So customer service, it helps. There's a portion in the standard that deals with customer service, and it helps in terms of the service we offer to the public. It helps in terms of our records and just the quality that we offer overall. So it is important, not just the private sector, because yes, private sector is trying to improve, but it is also for the public sector. And here in Jamaica, they have undertaken to ensure that a number of public sectors become certified, and that and they keep coming. So we have certified a number of them, and additional companies keep coming on. And as I said, I went to a forum some time ago for another public sector worker. They had some stake. They were having a panel discussion, and one lady who is from overseas, she indicated that the service that she's receiving from certain places has far increased over since in terms of previous years. So it is important to public sectors also to meet that standard and to show the public that we are operating at maximum efficiency.
Okay, so thanks for that explanation, because we can see how beneficial certification can be once the efficiencies start to increase and once the public starts to notice those efficiencies in operation. But I'll come back now to the cost of certification. We know that there's a cost to certification, and sometimes costs are bad words for companies, especially for things that are not mandatory. So perhaps, Shelly-Ann, you can talk to me about the investment, because essentially that is what it is at the end of the day, an investment in your business. So perhaps you can talk to me a little bit about certification as an investment in a company.
Yes, and I like how you put it, Latoya, an investment. So like how we invest in equipment, in marketing, and other services, certification should be considered a part of your investment, because it's supporting, it's ensuring that the markets are open up. Because after you have done your, purchase your raw material and you have done all of that, then if you don't have market access, then you won't be able to make that profit. So with certification, it's important. There are some amount of factors that we look at to determine the number of days that we will spend doing the certification activity, such as the number of employees. And certification, you can be a single business owner, no employees, and we will certify you once you have processes in place to a very large company. So it goes from the micro to the very large entities. So it depends on the number of employees, the complexity of the business, meaning your processes, how complex is it, highly regulated, is it a risk? We look at the risk factor as well in order to determine the number of days that we will spend. And as I said before, your investment is really subsidized both by local and regional and international, because I know part of the work even for CROSQ is to provide that support as well.
Yeah.
So it is very subsidized, but it will be worth it when you compare to the investment and the returns on your investment.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the crucial things as well is the fact that we have these services available in the region.
Yes.
So it's not a situation where we always have to go outside, because we know that's always a cry in the Caribbean about the development of capacity in the region to do some of what we need to do ourselves and to be able to share those resources.
Yes, and as our tagline says, certify locally and you can export globally. So we are comparable to all the other certification bodies that there are certificates, based on the WTO, the trade laws has to be accepted whichever border it goes.
Okay. All right. I think we've covered everything that we wanted to do to be able to give our listeners an idea of what certification is about and why you as a small business should become certified. So I really want to thank Mrs. Shelly-Ann Brown and Miss Diane Allison of the National Certification Body of Jamaica. It has been a pleasure and I've enjoyed this discussion. So thank you very much on behalf of the Quality Link podcast. Have a good day, ladies.
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you. This has been a production of the CROSQ's Marketing, Information, Knowledge Management and Education Committee. Join us next time for another episode of the Quality Link.